What's up, everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk Podcast. We are out here at the owners' meetings at the Biltmore in Phoenix, Arizona. Had an opportunity to sit down with Mike Vrabel today at the coaches' breakfast. Robert Kraft on Monday said that he felt the Patriots overachieved. His head coach might have disagreed.
I talked to Robert about that. Him and I had a really good conversation. Championships will remain the goal. It will never change. I appreciate Robert's support, but we want to win the division. We want to host playoff games, and we want to compete for championships. And so we got a taste of that. We saw what that looked like. We saw the environment that it created to be able to play those playoff games at home, which was unbelievable and so much fun. I just watched the reactions. I watched the videos of because that's the part that I really didn't get to appreciate coaching a game, is seeing the fan videos, the videos from the fans and that perspective. So we'll play whoever we have to play. We understand what this looks like. We're going to play the division winner schedule, and that's how it goes.
Phil A. Perry, the senator, is alongside. We will bring him in just a moment, but we're going to hit on everything, football-wise and otherwise. First things first, Vrabel on A.J. Brown from today.
We've talked about this since last January. We're going to try to do everything we can to strengthen our roster through the draft, through free agency, multiple ways of player acquisition. So anything that we can continue to do to strengthen the roster, we're going to try to do.
All right, bringing in Phil Perry now. Phil, one thing we haven't discussed yet as it pertains to A.J. Brown is his knee, the condition of it. The Rams reportedly, and behind closed doors, people I've talked to, they passed on him because of the condition of his knee. And I look at the Max Crosby situation where the Ravens pushed away from the table instead of giving up 2 first-round picks for Max Crosby. And here's what Sashi Brown, Ravens president, had to say today about that. He said, there are steps that teams consistently go through. We just saw another team go through a very similar circumstance. This is not the first time it's going to happen. It will not be the last. I think everybody wants to be prudent through our processes. It's unfortunate and rare, especially in a high-profile case like this. But that's why the processes are in place. Phil, I think it's something that looms over this entire A.J. Brown conversation. You already have one reputable team that's pushed away from the table on A.J. Brown. Everyone's yearning for that player to join the Patriots. You can't say it's a zero chance that the Patriots might look at A.J. Brown's knee when they get him in front of their doctors and say, first and a second, I don't know if we want to do that.
Well, and I think that's the key right there when you bring up the potential compensation, because if A.J. Brown's knees look great, then a first and a second doesn't sound all that terrible in terms of picks going out. But if the knees don't look great, Tom, and the Eagles know it and the Rams know it, and maybe the rest of the league, including the Patriots, know it, does that then impact the trade compensation that you'd be willing to take back if you're Philadelphia, understanding, hey, this just might not be a situation, that is tenable for us any longer. And so let's take whatever we can get. Might be something on day 2, might be a future pick. Usually those are devalued. Next draft seems okay. Let's go ahead and do that, understanding that this guy might only have a couple years left as like a truly elite receiver.
I wonder if, too, they could make it a conditional. All right, first and a third, conditional. If he doesn't play in however many games, then we're going to back it off to a 4th-round pick or a 5th-round pick, for instance. I mean, I guess that would be something to concern. But we've really kind of skirted the issue. One team, again, has already pushed away from the table. You have the Max Crosby situation hanging out there that happened, which was a big hoo-ha. But in the case of A.J. Brown, he's all but on the roster as far as most folks are concerned. Just have to get him into Foxborough.
Well, and I don't think Vrabel said anything that would move us off of that stance, right? Like, for him to say we're going to just continue to do anything we can to strengthen the team, that's not a no. That's not a A.J. Brown's a member of the Eagles, I can't talk about it, next question. Like, so he's leaving that possibility open. And so I do think I just wonder, Tom, there are so many people, and you've now mentioned it twice, Like, the idea of moving a first-round pick for A.J. Brown seems to be an idea that a lot of people here locally have sort of already wrapped their minds around. I don't think it should be that high. I don't think it should be that expensive. He's a guy whose production has come down a bit over the course of the last few years. You worry a little bit about the knees. You worry a little bit about maybe the age. And so, for me, if it's something on day two, especially, Tom, when you're talking about future picks, you can't in your right mind, if they're going to wait to do this deal for after June 1st, can you really, if you're the Patriots, trade your 2027 first-round pick for A.J. Brown, not knowing where that pick will be? We've seen, worst-case scenarios happen where you get an injury or two. Now suddenly a pick that you thought would be at the bottom of the first round in 2027 because you thought you'd be a really good team again is somewhere in the top 12. Like, you can't move that kind of pick for somebody like A.J. Brown, in my opinion. So that would be a really questionable decision as far as I'm concerned if that's the pick that ends up going out.
Meanwhile, I did ask Vrabel about the salary cap space that remains. Here's his answer about the cap and the room that is apparently still maybe bookmarked for A.J. Brown in 2026.
I do a lot of things. Focus on cap space is not one of them. I don't. Robert and Jonathan have given us all the resources that we've needed since I've been here to sign players. Amazing facility that we just moved into last Monday. So I'll let Elliot and Ryan and Richard and Matt Grove focus on the cap space.
You got plenty of room.
If you say so.
Which leads us now to the conversation. What if this doesn't happen? How does the wide receiver room look? We asked Vrabel about that specifically, and he went into some detail on that about all the different guys. Really good, too, because he mentions the Diggs production as well in this answer. If we can shoehorn some of the Diggs production and efficiency answer into this conversation about Demario Douglas, Kyle Williams, and Kayshon Boutte.
There's guys that we targeted Romeo, with the consistency that he's had and shown, and his first 4 years in the NFL. And I think he's gotten better. I think he's improved each and every year. Certainly, you mentioned Kayshon. I think Pop is a player that's going to really continue to grow and develop, and we have to find ways to get him the ball. Kyle, really excited. Talked about him just improving his play strength, and that's something that he's tried to focus on here in the offseason. We know what his speed is and his release skills, and the ability to we saw him go and track the ball down the field. So there's a lot of guys that we're excited about. We all appreciate what Steph did and really loved being able to coach him. But what has to happen is the efficiency in which he was able to catch the ball was impressive. So whether that's Drake's accuracy, ball location, or Steph's ability to catch it, that's something that we'll have to recreate. And I'm not worried about the catches and the overall production. I think we can recreate that. We just have to be very mindful that the efficiency in which we throw and catch it is important.
Phil, what was your takeaway about Vrabel's feelings on the wide receivers that he's gotten right now as opposed to just the ones that they're pining for?
Well, he seems to like them, and I get it. Like, he's their head coach. They're still under contract. If they don't get A.J. Brown, they might need these guys to really produce. The Douglas answer, Tom, sort of perked my ears up a little bit just because he was what he was last year. He was really kind of a gadget player, and I understand they had Stephon Diggs, and if Douglas is going to be an inside guy, but Diggs is your inside guy, like, maybe there's just no room for him to play. But is that how the Patriots are looking at it, do you think? Because, Diggs is gone, obviously. Does that open up more possibilities for Pop Douglas, who, Tom, if they add A.J. Brown, would be like the fifth or sixth receiver on the roster? Like, it's hard to find space for somebody like that, given the amount that he played last year, but maybe Vrabel's looking at it differently.
Yeah, I wonder how contingent that need to get the ball in Pop Douglas's hands that Vrabel articulated, how much that really exists if A.J. Brown does come in, because you need to get Kyle Williams and his production as a third-round pick who showed great upside. Kayshon Boutte, productive every time you throw it to him. So where does Pop Douglas fit if A.J. Brown comes in? It's definitely a question. And then there's the draft. And if the Patriots, we're going to get to the tight ends, but there's a lot of opportunity, again, for them at wide receiver in a fairly deep draft, Phil, correct? Here's Vrabel on the draft and the need to take the best player available.
Well, I don't think you should ever draft for need. It's not a position that you ever want to be in. I love all our players. Certainly the free agents that we were able to acquire was a collaborative effort between the coaches and the personnel and myself, and being able to add guys that we believe in and that can help us. And then we'll continue to add guys. And that's kind of how this thing goes. But I do think that every year is different. There's change in the coaching staff and the personnel and the players, and like the guys that we were able to add, and we'll continue to try to strengthen the roster. Yeah, best player available, hopefully. Maybe we trade up, maybe we trade out. I don't know. But, I love being able to work with Elliott and Ryan, their staff, coaching, and try to bring that together. I'm trying to bring the coach's perspective on a player and the personnel side together to bring the best person in there for our football team.
Phil, resident draft expert, what are your feelings on that answer?
Best player available to me is always the ideal, but that's if and only if all your roster holes have been taken care of before you get to the draft. And
agreed.
I don't think they've taken care of all those. And I think last year's a great example of they drafted for need. At the top of the draft last year, if they had a left tackle, there was no need necessarily to go and get Will Campbell. Listen, he's a fit for a variety of other reasons. The play demeanor, the personality, it is a premium position. You're in the top 5. So it made sense for a lot of reasons, but that was a need. And it's the reason why he was as sensible a pick as he was inside the top 5 there. I think their biggest need now, Tom, and this is sort of fascinating to me, I think their biggest need is on the edge, but I think this is a deep enough edge class of starting caliber edge defenders that just because it's your biggest need doesn't necessarily mean that it should be your first pick. So how they play this will be really interesting. Do they view it as, come hell or high water, we're getting an edge defender with 31 overall, wherever we end up picking first? Or do they look at it and say, there's actually another position where if we really want a certain kind of guy, we have to get him early, and then let's use that edge depth in this year's draft class to our advantage and maybe get one a little bit later?
Yeah, I mean, the ideal situation is when need and best player available dovetail, which it did 2 years ago with Drake May. Huge need a quarterback, best player on the board at that position, take him. But again, with Campbell, the Patriots tried to satisfy their left tackle situation in free agency. I don't know if he was the 4th best player in the entire class, but they ended up taking him there. Will it work out? We'll see. But it's harder to have those two needs dovetail, but there are enough needs where you can look at that group of best players available and say the guy that you have rated 24th on your board is sitting there and is at a spot of need, you can take him. But if it's the 24th player on your board and he's still sitting on the board and you're at 31 and he happens to play a position that's already blocked out, why be redundant when you have those other needs to fill? Which brings me to tight ends. My personal favorite. Here's Mike Vrabel on tight ends, insists he's a huge fan of the position as well.
I hope there's a good, again, I think just trying to find, the right guy. There's different, some of them are receiving, some of them are more the line of scrimmage, some of them a little bit of both, so I think we'll just try to come up with the one that fits us best and see where we can draft him.
Phil, we've discussed this before. It's not always about receivers. Sometimes it's about pass catchers. Who do you throw to when you've planted your back foot and you're looking downfield? Doesn't matter if he's a 5'11", 210-pound guy who can fly down the field or a 6'5" guy. If he's open, he should get the ball. Can the Patriots address their pass-catching needs if, say, for instance, they don't get A.J. Brown? Can they address their pass-catching needs at 31 with a tight end in a deep tight end class?
I don't think so. unfortunately for them. Listen, Kenyon Sadiq is probably the only tight end who's going to go on day one. I think he's going to go before 31, Tom, and he's an interesting player. I think he could fit Josh McDaniels' offense. He's just not in the mold of a Rob Gronkowski or even a Hunter Henry. He's a shorter guy. He's in that like 6'2 to 6'3 range, and he is rocked up. He's incredibly well built, and he's an unbelievable athlete. Had one of the best combines for any tight end in the history of the combine. But you'd have to use him in a little different way. You might have him in the backfield at times. When you have him block, you're going to probably have him on the move. And so in some ways, he's like a modern version of what that position has come to be. But is that exactly what Mike Vrabel wants in his heart of hearts, or Josh McDaniels, for that matter? These are guys that I think, Tom, still believe in the Y tight end and the guy that can be used in the run game and be on the line of scrimmage and move some people on first and second down, and then can be like a real security blanket for you when you put it in the air. And there are guys like that too. So I don't think you're going to get a high-end, if you're looking at A.J. Brown saying this offense needs a high-end pass catcher, this offense needs a 1 or a 2 passing game option, you're probably not getting that guy in this year's draft because, again, I think Sadiq will be gone. But I think you can get a serviceable tight end who might have the upside to turn into that kind of player with a little bit of a development down the line. This class, I think, is going to be loaded with day 2 and day 3 tight ends who end up being real contributors in the NFL.
All right, where whoever gets drafted, whether it be tight end or whoever comes in as a wide receiver, going to be working alongside Drake May, of course. And here's what Mike Vrabel had to say about May and what he wants to see from him as he enters year 3.
I think his ability to control the game at the line of scrimmage, whether that's operationally getting us into a better play, to continue to take ownership of the offense. I mean, he's an extension of Josh, and Josh sends the play in. We want Drake to own it, to own the play, and bring it to life with cadence, communication, all the motion and all the things, orchestrate. Continue to do that. There's nothing physically. He's very talented. So continue to push him to lead and to try to orchestrate and conduct the offense.
All right, be an extension of McDaniels, continue to control the game at the line of scrimmage. Phil, what kind of growth did you see from May last year at that position? Where are areas that you think that he could improve?
Well, I think you just start to open up the Josh McDaniels offense and all of the options to Drake May more and more, the more experience he gets here. I think he did a really good job of controlling things at the line of scrimmage. He might just not have had all the options available to him that I think are available to the quarterback in general with Josh McDaniels. So, there are a few different things like, you wonder, they had this elaborate series of hand signals that Brady could use to signal to his wideouts or his tight ends, changing route combinations at the line of scrimmage. And so, like that kind of thing wasn't the kind of thing that we saw a lot of from Drake May. And I wonder if it's a wrinkle like that starts to open things up for Drake May even more at the line of scrimmage. So he feels like, he's this all-world caliber, Madden player, essentially, who can move any number of the 10 teammates that he has on the field to help him execute whatever play is called to the best of his ability.
What would really help him, I'm sure you agree, as do all the fans who are listening. And thank you for listening, as always, to the Patriots Talk Podcast and following along with Phil and I. But running game, great answer, because I think Vrabel really articulated something I've been pointing out. When you look at the overall numbers, yeah, you got a guy who ran for over 900 as a rookie and 8 touchdowns, I believe. And Ramondre Stevenson was productive when he continued to hold on to the football. But a lot of it was explosive runs. Here's Vrabel on the Patriots' continued need to improve their running game and add efficiency and consistency.
I just want to be more consistent. We, the Patriots, want to be more consistent running the football. This isn't like we're going to run it every single play. It's just that I felt like there were too many times where we wanted to run it and it was just inefficient. Now, we popped some, which were great. We had some explosives, and so then when you go back there and you average it all out, it's like, okay. But I want to be able to do it more consistently to allow for then, some of the run actions in the passing game to really come alive and to start to help us. It's a tough league if you have to sit there and drop back and throw the football as much as we did in the last game of the season.
Phil, what do you think of the most concrete things the Patriots have done in this offseason to improve their running game in a demonstrable way?
Listen, dancing Reggie Gilliam, that's your guy, right? That you start there. Josh McDaniels in that fullback position. He loves it. There's a reason why. There's a reason why they turned to Landon Roberts into a fullback from the linebacker position because they couldn't find one. It unlocks things in terms of this running game, and it's also really hard to prepare for because there are so few of them. Because they are this endangered species in the NFL, it's really hard to practice against yourself during the week and say, okay, let's plop so-and-so here at fullback because we know we're about to face a team that runs a fullback onto the field for 20 snaps every game. So I think there are some inherent advantages there, and Reggie Gilliam is a true fullback. I mean, they had Jack West over there last year, and God bless him, he's a converted tight end, and he looked that way at times. I thought he actually got better as the year went on, so credit to him. But Gilliam's an experienced guy who's done it before at this level, and so I think that's going to help them a lot. Julian Hill, too. He's a run block first kind of tight end. I think he'll be able to give them a little something in the pass game and maybe be a little bit better in that regard here in New England than he has been in the past. But that's his game. That's his style. He is a relentless blocker. You look at Elijah Vera Tucker, too. He can do it all. So I wouldn't necessarily just highlight the run game when it comes to his addition. But these are the types of things that should make them a better rushing offense. And then, Tom, get back to that position that you love, that tight end spot. There's a number of guys in this draft that they could get on the third day of the draft that could end up being like their second tight end and maybe battling for that role with Julian Hill and be the kind of guy that's a bigger body, 6'6", 260 some odd pounds, and end up being a real factor in the run game for them. So they still have options to be able to add to that part of their offense.
Phil, you ever spent an inordinate amount of time squinting in the sun because you're not a real sunglasses fan? And then when you realize how long you've been squinting and your face is contorted, you start to feel a little exhausted?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, and it's like your eyes are already 50% of the way there. So they're saying to your brain, like, could we just go the rest of the next 50% here and just take a quick nap right now? That's how it goes for me usually.
Yeah, it's a grimace. I can feel. Oh, Moose just handed the sunglasses over.
Oh, look at you.
I must look like a giant insect, huh?
Oh. No, you look like...
Because I have the skinniest head.
Trooper Curran right now.
Skinny head nose. And Moose has a giant head. So there's... It's not that small, Moose. It's not that small. It's a good thing because you're a big fella. And if you had a head like mine on top of you, people would think you... Right. And a shrunken apple head. Phil, anything else that you've seen from the owners' meetings that really stands out to you that we need to discuss before I get my eyeballs back into a more sensitive area?
No, I think just it is worth it for you to tell us very quickly what you thought was the most notable takeaway from your time with Robert Kraft on Monday, because we haven't potted. Or sorry, timeout.
Yeah, we potted
you did do a pod. You did a pod yesterday. You did a pod yesterday.
Oh, yeah, solo pod. But why
there.
not repeat it? Because there might be somebody in New England. There might be someone in New England who didn't hear my takeaway. I think the biggest takeaway for me was the simple presence of Jonathan Kraft. And I asked, again, it was an off-the-record thing, so I'm not going to get into detail. And it was noteworthy that he was there. And my feeling is that it's important to the Patriots that it's understood that although Jonathan is not the forward-facing Kraft, he is in lockstep with Robert on all decisions. And they work together 50-50 and have done so for a long time. I also think Robert, as he approaches his mid-80s, is cognizant of the fact that, I might be slowing down a little bit. I might not admit it because I feel 35, but it's reasonable to have Jonathan with me so he can illuminate people on anything I don't happen to illuminate them on, which I thought was helpful in that time, because it's, you can get Robert, and Robert is a very hopeful guy. He shoots it straight, but I think the flourish at the end is always an optimistic one. And I'm not saying Jonathan isn't, but I think he's very pragmatic, and he can look at issues that we probed in a different way and answer in a different way. I will say this too. I was asked on EEI about what the benefit of an off-the-record session was. And I think the upshot of it was, well, you're just going to get their talking points. And that's absolutely right. In journalism, when you speak to somebody off the record, it's because they don't want their voice saying something for attribution. But they want their side of things told. That happens at water department meetings. That happens at any number of, political. People speak off the record. Because this fly, I'm going to go on the record with, I'm going to absolutely obliterate him. See, Moose, it's because of the glasses. He thinks I'm a fellow insect.
Yeah, you look like Bono.
But going off the record, yeah, I mean, it always is serving the purposes and the talking points of the individual who's gone off the record to tell you their version of things. So the benefit to us is to have a working knowledge of what one side's feeling is on things, even if there are sides, and to be able to articulate a way of thinking. So that doesn't necessarily mean you take it lock, stock, and barrel and just vomit it out at people, but at least you have some clarity on where things are, which is, I'm happy to have those. They're great. It's great to have those kinds of meetings, but you also, as a journalist, you don't want to be in a quid pro quo situation. You don't. I've done this for a long time, and there's times when I found myself censoring myself because I don't want to lose off-the-record access or the ability to vet things. And that will get dangled sometimes by sources. If you're going to shoot it straight and not say what we tell you, why are we talking to you? And you have to then weigh, who's paying me? So I think that was the interesting part. I veered a little bit there.
No, I like that. That's good journalistic insight from you. And now I have realized as a bad teammate that I haven't listened to your latest pod. So I'm going to have to go back and listen to that. But thank you for entertaining me with a question that I personally had when a lot of our listeners have already heard everything you had to say.
I'm sure you had something pressing yesterday. Speaking of pressing, I'll be leaving tonight on the red eye at 11:30, and I'll see you tomorrow. I'll be a bag of luggage. My Whoop bracelet will tell me I got a poor sleep. Bye, Phil.
Bye. Sleep tight, Bubby.